I'm going to talk about Agni Yoga and the teachings of, or on the common good. Let me start with a verse that's from Supermundane 472. The Master M defines the common good in this way. He instructs, it is a harmonious state that requires an equal harmony of all surrounding conditions. Then challenges us, M challenges us by saying this. Earthvati knows of those moments when one is unable to discern the boundary between the personal good and the common good. The mind whispers that personal gain is in conflict with general welfare. But the heart says otherwise. Disharmony will cause a contradiction between the personal good and the common good. But it is possible to imagine a point at which the common good becomes the personal. And that's what I want you to remember this morning. To imagine a point at which the common good becomes the personal. The world today sees just the opposite. They see good must belong to them only. What they engage in is for their own welfare. Sometimes that person will broaden their understanding of what is good to include the family. People who are so anxious about tomorrow or so anxious about next year will fiercely fight for their own personal welfare. To hell with the others. They think that. Not that it's necessarily wrong. They just don't have an understanding yet that that which is for the common good becomes the personal. I think of a story, a very short story, of the person that wants to get to heaven first. So it says, hang the rest of the world. They start that climb up the mountain. And they may bypass others who are also climbing up the mountain, but they're stuck. They don't care that the others are stuck. They're going to get to that mountaintop before anybody else. What happens? They get to that mountaintop, to the summit of the mountain, and they're alone. Where's the joy in that when you see your co-worker suffering? When you see a suffering humanity? There is no joy in that. There is no oneness being expressed in such a principle. And that oneness would be with the capital O. So the common good must have something to do with the oneness of life, with the capital O, not the little o. Immediately when we start to think about our personal gain, our personal interests, something happens. And that something that is taking place is that we begin to remove ourselves from the whole, from the one. We begin to create a distance. We are creating a distance between ourselves and the great principles that we have within us. But when we think about the oneness, it is not something that is outside. It is something that's inside, as all principles are. They are within us. When we begin to think only about our personal gain, then we are distancing ourselves from the principles that are within us. One day a person wrote me a letter telling me that her family just declared bankruptcy, that all their money was gone. Well, I had recalled at that time, listening to her story, that a few years earlier, the same person was bragging to me about their personal wealth in comparison to those in the group. The group members, they had very little money, if any. I told her that the reason she and her family lost their money may be very serious. And I asked her, what happened? I said, did you brag about your money? Did you brag about your wealth? Did you brag about how important wealthy people are? I asked her, did she or your family criticize those who were poor? And did they talk about those poor people, singling them out to other people? She said, well, I used to tell others that they were wrong to teach the laws of prosperity, that if they were poor, how could they be such a hypocrite by teaching the law of prosperity? So I said, what else did you do? She said, well, someone was not giving me $10,000, money that he owed me for the work that I did for him. So I sued him for $100,000. 1 year later to the day, they went into bankruptcy. God is tired of helping people. Think about this. God is tired of helping people. What does this mean? This means surely it is time for us to begin to help ourselves so that we can make him happy. Immediately when we start concentrating on our own benefit, our own interests, whether we are a man, a woman, a family, a group, a nation, we lose all of our credibility because we are removing ourselves from our heart. To those principles in our heart, from our master, the solar angel, from God, from the universal ethics of life. The most successful, happy, healthy people, and listen to this, it's so incredibly profound. The most successful, happy, and healthy people are those who renounce everything which cannot be offered for the general good, the common good. That is the teaching. And if you tell me or say to me, that story that you said about that family that went into bankruptcy, that surely was an exception. Let me tell you, it was not. I can give you a dozen stories of almost identical experiences. Now, granted, all of those stories are about those who were criticizing disciples, thinking that the disciple was in abject poverty. Well, karma performs very quickly when people work against world servers, those who renounce all that they have and give it to the common good. They have the protection of hierarchy. They have the power of God and the kingdom of God behind them, because they have not isolated those principles within themselves from the rest of the world. They've opened up their heart and presented the principles to all those who had the ears and the eyes and the consciousness to understand and then to become. Now the Master talks about the rule of the community from Leaves of Moria Garden 2, second volume. The rules of the community. What is the community, first of all, that he's referring to? He's referring to the hierarchy. In one of his works, The Supermundane, he says, one of the greatest rules in our community is to live for the community. Did you have in your life any opportunity or chance or blessing that you could live for somebody else, for a group, a community, a nation? Did you resign everything that you expect for yourself and say, this opportunity is for everybody? See, that is the level of your consciousness. The greater renouncement we have, the greater vision we have to live for all that exists. I'm going to repeat that so you can hear it again. The greater renouncement that we have, the greater vision we have to live for all that exists, the greater each of us are. And that is leadership. Some people will tell me, well, I'm not a leader. But then when I ask them, what have they renounced in this life? And they say, well, I've renounced everything that is not for the common good. I tell them they're a leader. When we experience living our lives like this, these experiences will remove depression. And I know this to be so. This is not just, words on a piece of paper. I know it to be so. That living like this will remove depression from you. I'm not normally a depressed person, but when a dear friend suddenly died 2 years ago, I found myself depressed for many reasons. But it was very interesting that in that depression, I learned so many things. The most essential thing that I learned about being depressed is that being depressed is to live a personal, self-centered life. When we renounce ourselves, when we live for the community, when we live a life for the common good, then the greater the vision is that we have. A vision to live for all that exists. When you live for all that exists, then what happens? Many gates will open for you. And you'll be prepared to live for the common good. Does this surprise you? You know, intellectually you may say, no, I know, I get that. Wait until it happens. If you find yourself someday going through a depression, really observe yourself, observe your thoughts, observe your energy level, observe whether you're creative or not, observe your health. Just observe going from today to tomorrow to the next day. Observe how you wake up in the morning. What is your attitude? And then think about renunciation of all of those things, because they're self-serving. And if we live a life that is self-serving, our life is over. Because we're not living for the common good, we're living just for ourselves. When I said that greater vision will be given to us when we renounce our selfish, little self, I really mean that. When I said gates will open for you, I mean that. I know it. I've experienced it. So I can attest to it. Sometimes people come to our meetings for personal interest, whether it is for a conference or for Sunday classes or even sometimes weekly classes. Even though they may come on a regular basis, and when I observe them carefully, I learn that they're here for personal reasons, personal advantages, such as to find a boyfriend or to find a girlfriend. Sometimes it is to single out others, to draw them into their personal circle of friends. Sometimes it is to fish for students or for other reasons. Well, that's not always so bad, but those who are serious about the teaching, serious about transformation, and really want to live for the common good, they're going to renounce those things. They're going to renounce their personal interest. And coming to classes, coming to conferences, coming to, well, this is weird. I have to rephrase what I want to say here. Grammatically, it would not be appropriate. If you go to the internet and you find our YouTube account, and all the lectures I have given for a long time, they're all on there. Before you open up that video, center yourself and say, let me put my opinions and my criticisms and my this and that aside and just bring my soul into this experience, because it's your soul that's hungry to hear the teaching. If we can renounce our personal interest, what's going to happen is that we gradually will find our light increasing. We will become increasingly radiant, and eventually our illumination becomes a transformative cause for others. Our light ignites the hearts and minds of those who will join us in serving the common good. As long as we have personal interest in everything or anything we do, we are stuck. And we are identified with our personality. Immediately we cut the personal interest, we raise ourselves to the soul level and become a soul. You become spiritual, you become a newborn person. What is a newborn person? As it says in the Bible, you die for the old Adam and live for the new Adam. This is interesting. From the teaching, we are told that Adam means living soul. Adam means living soul. You die for personality and live in the soul. We must die for something, and that is what renouncement means. Okay, let me talk briefly about tests. We are who we are where we are, we have a beingness, we have a level of consciousness. Okay, so we've made ourselves what we are, and this is where we are today. Now, a test is going to occur. Can you improve yourself? Do you have a vision that you can strive toward and improve yourself? That is a test for you. But remember, you're not improving yourself to make yourself great. You're improving yourself so that you can serve the common good. Not as an ego, not as a vanity, but as a soul. So this is a test for you. The teaching says, therefore, it is right to regard testings as growth. It is right to regard testings as growth. And I'm going to be talking more about testings the opening night of our conference, that Monday night. It's a very powerful talk. I was riveted when I put it together. I was so excited. Every time we test ourselves, something happens. A moment must come that we will say, okay, this is enough. Where am I going? What am I thinking? What am I? That is the moment when we are being prepared to serve the common good. You decide, okay, I'm not going to go with that man any longer, with that woman anymore. Why? Because he or she is destroying you. Can you stop it? It is so important. I know these things because I've been there, done that, and had to stop it. And knowing even in stopping it, I would be severely criticized. But that's the test. Can we stop it? Do not go with those fabricated thoughts and illusions and prejudices and superstitions. Do not serve those who are manipulating and destroying you. Do not serve them. They are not serving the common good. Somebody gives you $5,000 and then tells you, this is what you must do with my money. Don't accept their money. One day a person donated $10,000 to this group many years ago at a time when we had very little money. I gave the money back to them because they gave me the money to serve them, not to serve the needs of the group or the group's labor. Her donation came with strings. Later she tried to sue me. The lawyer just laughed at her and told her the court would throw out her case as a frivolous lawsuit. And then the lawyer called me and told me, about it. And he applauded my actions for refusing to take her money. And he said, "You did right, for she would have sued you even if you had taken the money." It was a test for me. Can you pass these kinds of tests? When you pass the tests the community gives to you, you become a greater human being than what you were. So how are you spending your money? This is a test. A sage says, quote, "Disciples are advanced into initiations according to how they spend their money, where they spend their money, for what they spend their money." Now, I was thinking about the word disciples and thinking, I really wish we had a different word to replace the term disciple with. So if you come up with a term, please let me know. And the reason is, for myself and for most of us listening and who are here, I get thrilled when I hear the term disciple because it carries a powerful energy with it, but it's not conveying the right image to the public. They compartmentalize that word as a definition that belongs to the Bible. And we go way beyond religion. The teaching goes way beyond religion. So perhaps we could just say something simple like, spiritual beings are advanced into initiations according to how they spend their money. You give someone $50,000 and they go to Las Vegas and they spend it all. It can happen in a few hours' time there. Well, that's that person's level of consciousness. But if you give $1 million and he makes something for the common good, to serve the majority of the people, then that person is initiated. Do you see this is serving the common good? The Master M says the purpose of each thought is to serve the common good. He said, when people understand the meaning of the common good, happiness will be theirs. One must listen to the call of consciousness. The Master, first of all, considers the level of consciousness of the disciple and then transmits knowledge accordingly. Man's great advantage lies in his ability to realize his progress. And it is so much more joyous when this progress is also for the common good. So let us not be fearful. Courage and striving are the wings that will help us to soar toward the goal. And that's a quote from Supermundane 265. Ursvati is justifiably amazed to see that people enjoy the comfort of the general good, yet they do not strive to work for it. These walking corpses, says the Master, only prepare a grave for themselves. Where and when will they see the usefulness of the common good? It is service, first of all, that opens the path to realization of the common good. Neither garb nor ritual, but only service to humanity is required. The thinker said, whether I serve nature or nature serves me does not matter. The important thing is that all my knowledge and experience are offered in the service of the common good. And this is from Infinity, the book Infinity, Volume 2. To serve the common good is to serve the general welfare or the general good. The teaching tells us that this is, in a sense, the higher law of cosmos, the direction in which the cosmic magnet draws us, and to which we must strive. The law of cosmos is the direction in which the cosmic magnet draws us. Each possibility in step with the cosmic magnet reaches toward the common good. So what is the law of cosmos? Did you ask yourself that question? Well, I did, so there you go. And here it is. Here's the answer. Agni Yoga is part of the instruction which in reality is based upon the translation of cosmic law. Agni Yoga is part of the instruction which in reality is based upon the translation of the cosmic laws. That's Agni Yoga. The cosmic laws exist. They are translated on our level and then released out into space or to the planet or to the solar sphere. And then we begin to record it. We would be like Helena Rourke, Helena Blavatsky, our teacher, Torquem Sardarian. They translate those cosmic laws and put them into a form that we can understand. Now, sometimes that form, for those who don't yet have the senses of the eyes and ears fully developed, yet we have to read the book. But those that can read the book subjectively, because all of these books are in the higher worlds, then we go to interplane classes. Or there's this beautiful library, and you will have a place in that library that you will go and sit down and you will pick the so-called book, that's a space book, let's call it, and you will open it up and say, that's how I want to live my life. That's why I'm here on this planet. The major idea to be grasped is that the teaching is a translation of the cosmic laws. It is that portion that guides us to understand the finer definitions and the higher laws. The true teaching is the interpretation and analysis of cosmic laws. So cosmic laws exist to make us achieve continuity of consciousness, to make us achieve immortality, to manifest the cosmic treasures that are hidden within us through creative living, to create conditions on earth in which it will be possible to achieve freedom. The teaching is a light on our path toward understanding the cosmic laws, such as the law of common good. But when we say understanding, we are referring to both illumination and actualization. Without illumination, without actualization, then the laws will be illusionary. Sometimes we call Agni Yoga the yoga of living ethics. What is this? Ethics is very easy to understand. Ethics means to have a principle, a standard, and then to measure everything that you are doing, feeling, and thinking according to that standard. If you do not have a standard, then you do not have ethics. The basic line of ethics is what? It's what is good for all, what is good for the general welfare of all. Sometimes people say our ethics are to work for the benefit of our family, my group, or my nation. This is okay, but when they expand a little more, eventually they come to a great expansion of consciousness, bringing their troubles and their problems to the understanding that there are no ethics until everything they are doing or thinking or feeling is for all of humanity. See, so like that individual that was climbing the mountain, seeing his friends and family members and co-workers still struggling. And he thought they were stuck, and he didn't want to be stuck with them, so he ran up to the summit of the mountain, and there he was. They weren't stuck. They were renouncing their deep desire to return home so they could help others and bring them up with them. The real ethics are principles that protect the rights of every living creature. That becomes the ethics. This is what it means to live for the common good, for the highest good. Living ethics means to actualize the ethics. If we do not actualize living for the common good, then we live only through illusion, through fantasy. There are no ethics unless these ethics become actualized. The beautiful point is that ethics are totally based for the general good. But it is not easy. Yeah, I think it is very difficult. Go and try today and tomorrow and the next week and month and year to live with the idea of living for the common good. First, you realize that you have a little baby inside of yourself. Some call that little baby their inner child. That inner child says, go ahead and drink that bottle of whiskey, that bottle of wine, that cigarette, that drug. See, that inner child is spoiled. But if you start living only for the welfare of yourself and others, then you are putting your neck under a really difficult discipline. That's a noose. In case you didn't get it, it's okay. This is why Master M says that without living ethics, there is no progress. There is no joy, there is no health, there is no happiness. So if you don't have joy, if you don't have health, if you don't have happiness, try to find the courage to take a look at what's going on. Living ethics is the gate to beauty. We need challenges. So I'm challenging you and I'm challenging myself today. The challenge is to see what we really live for if we really live for the greater majority of people. If we are, then the majority will change and be the whole. If we are living for the common good, for the higher good, for the general welfare of others, then the majority will change and be the whole. Okay, here's my drive to the center story. Driving along to come over to the center, our Isvara Center, I had CNN on, and they were talking about Pierce apparently is going to resign from his nightly CNN program. And that led to a conversation talking about Fox News. And I won't go into the whole story, but what really struck me is one of their key anchor people on Fox News, and they let us listen, CNN let us listen to this broadcast in which this key figure, I won't name his name, called Jay-Z a criminal rapist. Jay-Z Knight, a criminal rapist. How is that where they have millions of people watching this program? How is that living for the general welfare? How is that leading their listeners to the common good? When you read the life of Jay-Z Knight, you're humbled. He is an incredible human being. And to call this figurehead, particularly of our young people, a criminal rapist? No. That's not living for the common good. Living ethics is the gate to beauty. Are we living for the welfare, the health and happiness of our family, our group, the community, the nation, all nations? Without ethics, life will degenerate. So, see, the degeneration, the reason I wanted to bring up this story from Fox News is that is a degenerative statement. And it puts people in a very comfortable zone that most everybody is comfortable in, and that is living with a critical mind. It sets them up as judge and jury, so they can criticize anything they don't understand, or they can criticize that which they are afraid of, or they can criticize in others in such a way that they think that they are superior to others. This is not living for the common good. We must live an informed life. Look at our prisons. Our country, other countries are spending millions and millions of dollars putting people in prison. They lock them into their own system. They do not know that living ethics can transform these inmates. But we do, and we are doing this. We know that the actions of the prisoners put them in jail. But putting them into prison is not enough until we transform them with living ethics. We have several hundred prisoners from all over the country to whom we are teaching living ethics. Many dozens of prisoners are now writing to us asking to take our courses. You should see what a difference it is making in their lives. One such recent letter said, I have been incarcerated in prison, in the air quote, well, he wrote quotes. I've been incarcerated in prison now for 18 years and 3 months, longer than my life on the streets. And as of now, in 6 years, I will be free. But for me, that's not my true freedom. The past 8 years of my life, the illusions have been slowly revealing themselves. New concepts and ideas have shattered my belief system. I now know that I am the creator and make of this reality. And if I choose to experience freedom, I, therefore, am free. The only thing stopping me from anything in this world is my own will. I know if I don't choose to be present in the now, my life will fall into illusion or fantasy. True freedom is love, acceptance, knowledge, and most of all, gratitude. And this is an inmate. Let me close this morning's talk with a quote from Leaves of Moria's Garden, Volume 2, 189. The Master says, I shall specify the qualities distinctive of seeking the common good. First, constancy of striving. Second, ability of containment. For poor is he who denies, but the seeker of truth is worthy to work for general good. Third, ability to labor, because the majority do not know the value of time. Fourth, the desire to help without prejudices and without usurpation. It's an odd word. Usurpation. Okay. Fifth, renouncement of personal property and the acceptance for safekeeping of the fruit of the creativeness of others. Sixth, expulsion of fear. Seventh, display of vigilance amidst darkness. And again, that is from Leaves of Moria's Garden 2, verse 189.